As I'll ever be.
Okay, click play. Hi, I'm Patricia. Before recorded history, humans knew singing as a deep source of power. Power to change, power to heal, power to be present with what is. Right here, right now, today, we are remembering the ancient gift of song, using modern tech to help us tap into resilience and capacity in chaotic and difficult times. Welcome to the 130th episode of A Breath of Song, and a Happy New Year to you if you're listening to this as it releases. I'm so glad you chose to do this today, which is extra special because Kate Valentine is joining us for a songwriter conversation. Kate, welcome.
Thank you. I'm smiling from ear to ear already.
We are here to find more ways to sing songs that help us heal, adapt, and grow. Your voice is exactly what is needed for this. I'm coming to you straight from my home in what is now called Burlington, Vermont, on the unceded lands of the Abenaki people. And Kate, tell us where you're calling from.
I'm deep in the Ashdown Forest, which is in the south of England, where the stories of Winnie the Pooh were born. Forest Row.
That is a part of the world that I would really love to come visit.
It is magical, but today you need your thermals.
I want to say that as we're doing this call, Kate is wrapped up in fur and has a headband, and she is looking like it's an effort to stay warm.
I'm doing my best.
Is that fair?
I'm doing my best. I'm very cold-blooded. I have a hot water bottle, but I'm looking out at a very crisp view of the garden, so it's worth it.
Oh, lovely. And here in Vermont, we do not have snow right now, so go figure. All our voices will turn up as they are, where they are today, and no matter what, we can feel the connection to our breath and vibration in our body. Let's find how good it can feel to sing. Last week, I shared Kate's song, Inner Peace. Today, Kate will be teaching us Ride the Storm. We'll learn it slowly so it can settle inside you and you can begin to trust it as a resource. Let it move you into a state of flow. Then we get to enjoy a conversation with Kate, and we'll close out with the song again at the end. You'll always be able to find this episode with full show notes and artwork in the Library of Songs at abreathofsong.com. But let's start. I'm going to take us through a warm-up with a yawn stretch. You'll hear both Kate and me as we just take these invitations into our own bodies. Do what feels good to us. Oh, maybe roll your shoulders a bit.
Oh, that's nice.
Stretch out your back. Oh, whatever feels good in your body. Try to feel what feels stiff or tight or constrained, and give it a little invite to loosen a bit, open a little bit. Let yourself know you're safe here. Let your body feel safe. And see if you want to jiggle or shake or whatever warms you up. And checking in with your breath, maybe lift one arm up over one side and feel how your ribs expand and yawn. Oh, and the other side. Oh, and checking in with the ribs again. Notice as your breath comes in how the ribs can expand. And as the breath floods out, let it make sound. Let it pour into your belly and lower back. And let it flood out. Let it pour into your pelvic bowl. Let it flood out all the way up your spine. Maybe roller coastering some sounds. One more. And say back to me, meow, meow, meow.
Meow, meow, meow.
Yo, yo, yo.
Yo, yo, yo.
Ah, ah, ah. Ah. Wee. We are so ready. Kate, why don't you share Ride the Storm with us?
So Ride the Storm is all about long breaths, long notes, lots of space, and 4 different phrases, but we're basically saying the same thing over and again each those 4 times. I'll give you a little demo. Ride the storm, I'll the storm, ride the storm, ride the storm. So loads of breath, and I like to teach with a my turn, your time. And I'll sing it twice. I'll sing each phrase twice. So the first time you get to listen, the second time we'll sing it together. Here we go. Ride the storm, ride the storm, I'll ride the storm, I'll ride the storm. Third phrase. Ride the storm with me. Ride the storm. Fourth phrase. Ride the storm. Try that. Ride the storm. See, now you've had a little tiny feel of each phrase. I'm going to go over each phrase just a few times round, and you can choose when you sing it along with me. Maybe listen to the first phrase, and then I'll sing it 2 more times. Then we'll start to build those phrases together, and it will just drop in. Here we go. Ride the storm. And again. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. Second phrase. I'll ride the storm. Sing it with me. I'll ride the storm. And again. I'll ride the storm. Those together. Ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. And again. Ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. I'm going to sing the third phrase now. Ride the storm. Have a go. Ride the storm. One more. Ride the storm. Now the last phrase. Ride the storm. With me. Ride the storm. And again. Ride the storm. I'm going to pop back to the third phrase. Ride the storm. And now the fourth. Ride the storm. Those two again. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. Maybe we're ready to go back to the beginning. Ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. 2 more, big breath. Ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. One for luck. Ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. This is one part of this song which, when we sing together in a group, holds the whole piece together. And then there's another part which is so similar. We're saying almost the same thing. But there's a little bit of tension that builds as the notes kind of separate at little moments. There's a little bit of tension. So I'll play the part that we've just learned in the background, and then I'll give you a demo of where the second part goes before we learn it. Ride the storm, I'll ride the storm. So there's the first part playing. Ride the storm. There's three other little simple parts that pop over here. Ride the but these two are the closest together. I'll ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. So I just gave you that little demo. There's a slightly different rhythm to it, so I'm going to teach it in the same way so you can get a feel for it as its own little song. A little demo on its own. I'll ride the storm, ride the storm, ride the storm, ride the storm. So the keen observers among you will have noticed that the word "the" on the final phrase is much longer than the first time we sing it. Little note to point out. So we do my turn, your turn again. I'll sing each phrase twice, and you can sing with me the second time. Here we go. I'll ride the storm. Together. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. Third. Ride the storm. With me. Ride the storm. Fourth. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. Okay, we're going to go over those parts again because they're so different in rhythm, but so close, but quite different. Let's see if we can build that up into a whole picture of its own. I'll sing each phrase through maybe 3 times, and then we'll start sticking them together. I'll ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Again. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Third part. Ride the storm. And again. Ride the storm. Fourth part. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. What I'm learning here as I'm teaching it on its own is that actually it needs the anchoring of the first part. So I'm going to play that really quietly in the background just to help. Ride the storm. There's the first part going round. Let's hopefully my voice here is going to be a little bit louder so we can really anchor ourselves to the timing of that first one. And I think I'm just going to sing it maybe 3 times through, and hopefully it starts to sink into the rhythm in your bones. Here we go. I'll ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm, ride the storm, I'll ride the storm, I'll ride the storm, ride the storm. Time. I'll ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. Okay, those two parts together, really meditative. And I'm looking forward to telling you about how this song came about and how it's being used in the groups. Maybe I'll just give you a little spoiler about that, is that I was looking for a resolve with this song, and there didn't seem to be one coming. I was looking for a new phrase that would feel different to riding the storm, but it seemed to be that the power of this song is about that, exactly riding the storm. And these two parts together have this coming together and pulling apart feeling. But there is a little good news within the song itself, with a little high up voice saying, I'll ride this storm with you. I'll ride this storm. I'll ride this storm with you. I'll ride this storm. Because really, it's nice to have that little message within, seemingly coming from outside of ourselves, but clearly coming from within. Let's see. It goes like this. I'll ride this storm with you. I'll ride this storm. I'll ride this storm with you. I'll ride this storm. So my turn, then your turn. I'll ride this storm with you. Have a go. I'll ride this storm with you. I'll ride this storm. I'll ride this storm. And the first line repeats. I'll ride this storm with you. Have a go. I'll ride this storm with you. And the fourth line is a bit of a resolve. I'll ride this storm. I'll ride this storm. I'll ride this storm with you. Second line. I'll ride this storm. I'll ride this storm with you. I'll ride this storm. And again. I'll ride this storm with you. I'll ride this storm. I'll ride this storm with you. I'll ride this storm. Let's see how it fits with the other two parts. Gives it a little lift. Ride the storm. I'll ride this storm with you. Ride the storm. I'll ride this storm. Ride the storm. I'll ride this storm with you. Ride the storm. I'll ride this storm. Sing it with me. I'll ride the storm. I'll ride this storm with you. Ride the storm. I'll ride this storm. Ride the storm. I'll ride this storm with you. Ride the storm. I'll ride this storm. I'll ride the storm. I'll ride this storm with you. I'll ride the storm. of the parts. And then, because there seemed to be a little bit of ground needed, there's a drone part that you can optional to put this one in. And the second part that we sang together, which has got slightly different little rhythm going on there, I put this drone just underneath there using the same rhythm. So I'm going to just give you the note.
I'll ride the storm.
Stays in one note. I find it hard personally to sing one note. And it doesn't seem to make much sense at all on its own, but if we put it with that second part.
Ride the storm.
So there's the note to try and anchor to, nice bit of ground.
Ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm.
We'll bring in the first part.
I'll ride the storm.
So if you could try just the ground note.
I'll ride the storm. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. I'll ride this storm with you. Ride the storm. Ride the storm. I'll ride this storm with you. Ride the storm. I'll ride the
So the
storm.
parts are layering up there now, and you've got one really simple little drone part, which some people love to just stay on that one ground note. It can be very comforting, and for others that are in the melody of the song, to have that part held there, it's always a bit of a treat. And in the search for this resolve, I didn't find it within the song, but I did find, as we were singing it one day with a group, another little phrase just came in. And again, it's all very interchangeable, these parts. You've got those first two that can work well together, and then the higher voice of I'll ride with you. But then another phrase came in as we were singing it one day that says, shelter me. It just repeats 4 times the word shelter me. So I just play in the background. I'll give you an example of where that goes, and sometimes it feels like a fit and sometimes it doesn't.
Ride the storm. I'll ride the storm. Shelter me. Ride the storm. Shelter me. Ride the shelter me. I'll ride the storm. Shelter me. I'll ride the storm. Shelter me. Ride the storm. Shelter me. Ride the shelter me.
So that part there, the 4 different phrases of that one, quite high, but with lots of breath, I seem to be able to reach it. Shelter me. Try that. Shelter me. Shelter me. Try that. Shelter me. Let's do those together. Shelter me. Shelter me. Then the first phrase again. Shelter me. Then the 4th is one note. Shelter me. From the beginning. Shelter me. Second line. Shelter me. Shelter me. Again.
Shelter me, shelter me, shelter me.
The last line.
Shelter me.
So yeah, all together. Can feel like a lot going on in there, but if you build slowly, there's enough space and enough subtlety that comes in with each part that doesn't feel too choppy. Should we try it all together? Okay, here we go. I'm going to layer up the parts one by one. Here we go. Hope you're enjoying singing along. Great. Here we go.
Write the storm. I'll write the storm. Write the storm. Write the storm. Write the storm. I'll write the storm. Write the storm. Write the storm. Write the storm. I'll write the storm. Write the storm. Write the storm. Write the storm. I'll write this storm with you. Write the storm. I'll write this storm. Write the storm. I'll write this storm with you. Write the storm. Write the storm. 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 I'll write the storm. Write the storm. Write the storm. Write the storm. I'll write the storm. Write the storm. Write the storm.
Well done.
Oh, wow. I feel all settled. I feel like my whole body just feels like I've dropped. Just dropped. My shoulders have dropped. Feels like my hips have dropped. It feels like, I just feel this releasing. It feels wonderful.
Good. Yeah, reassuring message.
Yeah, and also I love that it doesn't resolve. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that there's this sense that, I'll ride the storm and I'll keep riding the storm. It's not about riding the storm till it stops.
Yeah.
Or to the end. It's about riding it.
Oh, I tried to find the result. I tried for probably about 6 months. I thought, surely there's a second half we can go to. And I found a nice, sweet little tune that fit. But would the words phrase come? No, it was meant to be just this. Meant to stay there.
Yeah, I hear that. So you mentioned briefly as you were teaching about working with it in groups. And I'm wondering if you would talk a little bit about the groups that you work with. Your song leading journey has had so much influence on many generations of people already. I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit of the outline of how you found yourself song leading and where that took you.
Sure. Oh, well, I mean, I've had the baton passed to me. I was massively inspired by the work of the Natural Voice Network, in particular Nick Prater. He opened my eyes to this way of singing, and a number of other people that I stumbled across. The first time I saw natural voice singing was at a little camp when I had one of my babies, who's now 18, and I saw this huddle of people in the morning just singing together in harmony, no sheet music, and just this feeling just overwhelmed me of what is this? And I wept with joy at the feeling of it and the experience of it. I didn't know anything like it. I didn't pass my school audition aged 11, having loved singing. So I was in my mid-20s when this happened, and I thought, okay, this is what I want in my life more than anything. And so I found a few people from the Natural Voice Network and people that have massively inspired people in the UK to sing in this way, to gather together in a circle and sing. So that my journey of that started sort of formally, I suppose, around 12 years ago, when I accidentally, didn't mean to, set up a singing group.
How do you accidentally set up a singing group?
You know what? It's extraordinary, this story, and I think is the pivotal reason why I've gone on to train other people, because a dear friend of mine, who I was looking after her child, she must have heard me talking about this singing group type activity. I must have been going on about it, like, I don't remember, but I was looking after her little one, and she said, it would be great to have a group like that where my daughter can go with you. And I said, yeah, wouldn't it, And lo and behold, she found a group, and she invited me to come along with her. But what I didn't know was that she had invited the women, knowing that I would have said no to the invitation to lead, but trusting that in that space I just would. And it was incredibly bold move of her, because I'm a nurse. That's my formal identity, and it was my former identity. And I think she must have known that I didn't have any kind of confidence or belief that I could do that kind of work, but she knew I had the passion. I certainly had no musical training, but there I was, faced with these women and babies, 8 of them, looking at me. And it was only when they looked at me and nobody else started singing that I realised what was happening. And I turned to my friend and said, and she looked at me, raised her eyebrows and said, you know a few songs, don't you, Kate? So that was it. That was the start of my Singing Mamas groups. That moment. And I whispered my way through a couple of songs that I'd picked up at some of these other groups I'd been to. And we all loved it. We had the best time. It was amazing. And because of that, my journey then grew. I set about setting up my own group. I had people in my own house initially. I learned on the job. I was half a page ahead of everybody. I loved it. I baked a cake for everyone, and I saw the impact. So, then it's grown from there. That was 12 years ago. And after a number of years of realising, gosh, the feedback these mums are giving me is like, it really means a lot to them that they're getting to come to this group. And I started asking questions, looking around and seeing, mums weren't okay, actually. There's a growing mental health crisis among mums, and it's not something we readily, easily talk about. So I put 2 and 2 together and thought, wow, I think we're onto something here with this singing group. And I looked around, and there's some research started to happen about singing for well-being. I know a lot of great people have been doing this research for a while. And just one night I was in intensive care, looking out over the sea, and I just thought to myself, how am I ever going to recover from these night shifts? I was a single mum at the time. I was probably battling my own mental health a little bit, but having these singing groups for the last probably 5 or 6 years at that point really be my absolute joy. And I thought, okay, Singing Mamas has got to be on the NHS, on the National Health Service. It's got to be free. Nurses like me in uniforms have to recommend this to women and mothers because I know it works, but it has to be for everybody. It has to be free to access. It has to be normalised. It's not within culture at the moment, and I want to make it that way. So that was the point. I thought, okay, let's scale. And how it loops back to the original story of how I started was that I wouldn't have signed up to a choir leader or song leader training. No way. So I was ready to appeal to people who didn't have formal musical training but had the passion and the drive and that could do it and they could learn like I did.
Yeah.
So now we are over 200 leaders. We're in 10 different countries or more now. We've got funded groups all over the place in the UK and we're growing fast.
It's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And one of the things that's distinctive about your groups is that it's mamas and babies. Yeah. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about what it's like to be in a circle with... I've actually done a little bit of that myself, and I love it. But most people don't feel comfortable bringing their babies to a singing group, right? They're like, oh, it's going to make, she's going to make noise.
Yeah. Well, if you speak to anyone that's doing this work, they'll tell you it's such a joy. And it's incredible to work with children in this way because, I've been a mum, and even if you haven't been a mum, you'll probably get that, it's pretty hard work. It's pretty hard work parenting. Mm-hmm. But to go to a group where the mums are nourishing themselves, they're choosing an activity that really benefits them and they get a whole community vibe out of it. They're being seen and witnessed as a human, as well as being a mother and a woman. But the children are brought into that creative space and they are not just pacified and entertained, they're getting a whole experience of their own, which is a musical education and an experience of a culture of people that come together in circle to sing. So it's very easy to see quite quickly within a Singing Mama session, just a one-off for your first go, how good it is for the children. Sometimes my mum comes along to Singing Mamas and she loves it so much, but at the end of it she says, Kate, it just doesn't make sense. There was 17 babies in that room and you didn't hear a peep. They were just so good. And I'm like, there's no such thing as a good baby mum, but they're all good. And it's the music and the sounds of the harmonies that they just drop into. And so unless they've got some basic need to be met in that moment, like hunger or they need to sleep or they have a nappy that needs changing, then you watch them. All the while they're singing in harmony, they are settled and they're drinking it all in and they're learning so much in those moments. So there's just so much that we could talk about why it's so good for the mother and baby, but very different to any of the other parent and child kind of groups that I went to as a mum of young children.
Let's talk a little bit about the singing, how the singing is different than singing in a choir or singing in a chorus, where you're preparing for a performance or you're preparing to be seen in some way. How this kind of singing, what it feeds, what it nurtures, what it does for your insights.
Oh my gosh, it's such a huge shift, that focus of doing something in preparation for someone outside of you to verify or enjoy. It's a hugely different thing. So singing for the moment, in the moment, is deeply healing. For so many ways. I mean, you just mentioned there how settled you felt in yourself. So there's a sort of systemic nervous system settling that happens when you breathe together, sing together, especially when, we're bringing in quite intentionally certain songs in to work with the mood of who's in that room. We're looking at what's going on within the room, within individuals as a group, outside of the group, the political climate, the seasons. We're bringing all of those things into focus with the songs to really have a rich experience of being in the moment and connecting deeply to our true nature. So you can't really kind of drop in the same way if you're thinking that it's for something else, but having the chance to sink into that moment of the sound and the song, you really get a sense of the song being pure medicine. Like there's a reason that song exists. There's a reason that it was brought into being. Somebody or some people drew it down from goodness knows what kind of mystery, wove those words, melodies and sounds together to create something, to enable something. And so when you work with songs in that way and bring them into the group space like that, and people are open to receiving them, they can touch the places within us that just need touching and are ready to be touched. And sometimes people get a deep connection to some sorrow or some joy or some grief, or just it's endless really to say. There's far too many variables to tell you the magic of how songs can land and touch and move through a human's experience.
So how are you selecting those songs? You mentioned some of the ways that you're selecting songs, seasons and the climate of the room and the political climate and the... but how are you finding the songs that you're sharing, and how do the other Singing Mamas leaders find their songs?
Sure. Well, of course, your podcast is wonderfully popular among our
Oh, yay! That's really lovely to hear.
There are a few sort of online resources that are shared around amongst the global community of natural voice singers. Within our Singing Mamas network, we have a whole module when someone trains about honouring of songs, so copyrights and cultural honouring. So that's a really big part of the sort of foundational training, out of deep respect for the songs and songwriters and traditions they come from. But you know what? We are so many songs that we could possibly choose. We have something that happens and occurs within our leader network where someone will come to the training and they've maybe a bit shy about it. They've heard my call that you don't have to be musically trained, or maybe they are musically trained and they start doing the singing, the song sharing in their communities, and then before they know it, they're writing songs. And they're writing songs because their musicality is developing, but also because they're tuning into what is the collective experience of being a woman and mother in the world in this moment, in this time. And so the songs that come out of that space are just, they feel both ancient and contemporary all at once. So it's really lovely to be developing a kind of song bank of singing mama type songs that are coming out of the need. And otherwise it's songs are passed down through families. Another sort of foundational piece to our training is to ask people, what are your earliest song memories? Who sang to you? Where did you sing? What were you singing? And we kind of go on that little look down sort of history memory lane, and these songs appear that people haven't sung for 20 or 30 years sometimes. Where do songs live? That's the eternal question.
So let me turn that question right to you. What's your earliest song memory?
Wow. I have a song that plays in my heart, You Are My Sunshine. It plays around and around. It seems to be that song that's always with me. I had a baby brother when I was 9, and he was born when I was 8, and he was the light of my world. His name was Daniel, and he just brought with him so much joy and light. And sadly, tragically, we lost him. He died when he was a toddler. And so I have this song, You Are My Sunshine. Kate. Yeah, it's a big story in my life, but I have this memory of this child, Daniel, attached to this song, You Are My Sunshine. And he was my sunshine. He still is my sunshine. And I picture him with I feel him with such radiant joy. But the song stays. The song is if you bottle the feeling of Daniel, this is his song. So this is my early song memory.
Do you think experiencing a loss like that so early, such a deep loss, influenced you toward the healing work that you've done?
Yes, without a doubt. Daniel died very suddenly, and I had a very strong experience of being part of the hospital, the intensive care. And I had this really deep experience of being both, distraught, beside myself, bargaining with God, at the same time as having angelic, loving arms wrapped around me by the nursing team and by my family and friends, the members of my community that wanted to take care of me as a child because of what I was going through. So it was both. It was both the most intense, loving experience I'd had and the most profound grief at such a young age. So for sure I was drawn to being a nurse through that experience. Yeah.
And also being the kind of song leader that heals.
Yeah, well, I
provides space for healing, because what you're describing, how you describe the singing mamas, this community of people who are coming together to sing and to witness each other and to be there for each other, that sounds to me very much like what you were just describing you experienced at that moment of grief, that you were being held and cared for and witnessed.
Yes, and I think one of the sort of, well, how can I say it? It's so important for all of our leaders to create a space where all feelings are welcome, where everything is welcome. You show up just as you are. And if you show up 1 minute before the end, that's not late. You're just welcome. You come in. We are practicing non-judgment of each other. So we are just allowing women and mothers to show up, in all sorts of ways that they are. It's become a practice. We do a name round at the beginning where we offer we give 3 options. Option 1, don't say your name. Cool, just pass on to the next person. Option 2, say your name, and we'll all say your name back again. It's really nice to hear everyone's names every week. Option 3, say your name with a little gesture of how you are today, and then we'll echo it back to you. And you can see some people just, no, don't like this, can't do this. And over time, they realise, actually, it's not that big of a deal. It's quite nice if I say my name and people say it back. And then likewise, other people they'll do a gesture of kind of fast asleep, kind of that kind of thing, or, a giddy little gesture of happiness, or we've even had a pregnancy announcement within the name round, or some people will just, express a gesture of frustration, or it's just a tiny little moment where we get to try on a little piece of each other, and it fosters that absolute acceptance and welcoming of, show us who you are right now, show us what you're here with, and you're completely welcome and we love you for it, and thank you for being here.
That's a beautiful practice. That I actually do something very similar with my flow singers. Yeah, I know a few of our leaders found it difficult when I sort of brought it to the training. So don't do it if you find it difficult, if it's something that's an edge for you. But the more I do it, the more I realise it's quite profound in its simplicity. It says a lot. Yeah. There's something very powerful about having what you just said come back to you. Yeah. And we feel a little bit. We mimic what you've just shown us. So we've felt a little bit of who you are right now. Yeah. And we've seen you. See, here we are. We're all seeing you. We're just demonstrating that we've just seen you. Yeah. That we get that. Yeah. We heard it. Yeah. We saw it. We see it. Yeah. So when you start leading a new group, what are you paying attention to? Well, the new groups, actually, I always love the very, very first session. So I'll go and do a 10-week program in a new area or anywhere near me, with the view that after that 10 week they can join a community group. And I always find it really exciting, because the entry into the world of singing, it's just the best threshold to help anyone cross, with the biggest barrier of accessing our groups being I can't sing. So that, okay, we've got enough people in the room. Doesn't matter if you're all completely shy singers. I'm going to give you this experience. You're going to walk away knowing you can sing and having a taste of harmony and watching your child's response to this. So I'm always so up for that first group. We create a lot of safety. So depending on the numbers, it might be that I just give one part to the entire group, and I might demo a harmony part to give them that. What's your range of numbers? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, so for a first group, it's really nice to start with 12. If you've done a good sort of campaign to get awareness, starting a group with 12 is a sort of safe enough number that no one's voice is going to be exposed to themselves, which might be a fear. And then you can do 2 or 3 simple parts together. But if you have 6, if you're really keen to start and you haven't got enough numbers yet, you could start with 6. And it isn't about number as such. A lot of it is the framing and the careful selection of songs. I would always start with something really familiar, like even a nursery rhyme. I would not shy away from starting with a nursery rhyme that you can put into a round, just to show, look, you can sing a nursery rhyme, you can get a bit of harmony out of it. And when I start a new group, week 1, you can see people's shyness, and week 2, they come back with a bit more enthusiastic. But week 3, they're owning it. It's their group, and they've bonded as a community, and they are talking about how they're going to grow this community with you. It's theirs. And the voices are just raising week by week. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Oh, that is really.
And the things that repeat within each group as well that we've seen, like the things that happen without you describing what's going to happen to the group or as part of the group. For example, in one of my groups, a good hour's drive away that I started a few weeks ago, one of the mums came in by about week 4 or 5 and said, "Oh, my friend's child is in hospital. Can we sing this song and I'll record it and I'm going to send it to her?" And I thought, wow, you didn't even know this is a thing, but this happens in every group. So these things are just so instinctive, and it's why we always say this is not groundbreakingly new. This is just doing what we've always done. Just reminding people of how we can be together in this way with songs.
Yeah. When you participate in a group that's led by somebody else, what do you particularly appreciate?
Well, I'm afraid I'm not that good at being a participant in other people's groups because I know what I like. I want that quick access. I want the song to come in the room there and maintain its holding of the group. So I want the song to begin being sung, and I want it to keep going round. And even if there's some instructions being given, I want the song to be rolling round in exactly the same place as it was. And that's a method of how I teach. But because what I notice is if there's stopping and starting to have to learn or wait for other people to learn, the focus is broken and the song spirit or the magic and the wonder and the benefits of being in that held space I find quite hard. Now I've had it this way, so I get a lot of personal enjoyment and satisfaction out of being in my groups that I teach because the songs are just there. They come in, they do their work, I get them rolling, they do their work, I step out, and then I'm in it.
I do the same thing. Yes, I do the same thing. And my goal is always sort of, how little can I talk?
Definitely.
And how much can we just spend the time singing?
Roll it round and round, that's it. Although having said that, my session on Wednesday morning, I was sent a song by one of our lovely singers singing with another member, and she sent me the song and I learned it. It's Mahmood's We Shall Be Known. And I thought, isn't it? Oh, it's such a great song. So I thought, okay, I'll learn it. And I brought it on Wednesday morning of this week. And as I mentioned it to the group, I looked at them both, Lara and Lottie, and I said, "Hey, how about you teach this?" And they looked at me and they gave me a big grin and they said, "Okay." And then the whole group, it must have been about 30 mums that morning, just thoroughly supported and enjoyed these 2 women teaching a song for the first time, a two-part harmony. And I sat back in my chair and I had the best time.
Lovely.
So for me, it's less about the piecing together the 4 parts or whatever the appropriate notes are meant to be, and more about the experience of people doing something together, working together. Yeah.
So I'm going to shift gears now. So when we talked earlier, from some of what you said, I'm thinking that songwriting has been an edge for you.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if you can talk about how you coaxed yourself into doing something that felt challenging. How did you talk to yourself? How How did you get yourself there?
Oh my goodness.
I'm so glad you
Yeah, me
did.
too.
I just want to say, out of these two
Thank
songs,
you.
I love these two songs.
Aw.
So I'm so glad you did. And so I'm curious to hear how you convinced yourself.
Thank you. Well, it was definitely something that sat within the impossible zone of my life. Like, this is not something I'm never going to be able to achieve, even though I want it. It just felt too far out of my reach. Even though I knew, I looked at other people doing it and thought, I want that. I really want that. And I didn't know what I wanted. I just know didn't know what about it that I wanted, but I knew I wanted it. And then I observed some of the other leaders that I'd trained beginning to write songs, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute. They don't understand how it's happening for them, but clearly it's not in their impossible zone anymore. And some of them were really good. And I thought, wow. And they were surprising themselves. So it kind of came on my radar as, well, maybe I could reach it from that impossible zone into the panic zone or comfort zone stretch. And so it came to my attention that there was this award from the Arts Council here called the DYCP, the Developing Your Creative Practice. And this is an unusual fund because it's all about me. You know, we as creative practitioners get to spend an amount of money just indulging ourselves in an art form. So I thought, well, yeah, isn't that extraordinary? Yeah. And it was up to £10,000 at the time. And I looked at it and I thought, could I dare? Like, would that be enough accountability if I were to write to that fund and say, I want to unlock songwriting within me? If they gave me the money to do so, to spend the time and buy some kit and buy some mentoring, could I do it? And I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. So I wrote the application form, and I put on the application form that I would publish my process online, live, because I thought that's the only way I'm going to make myself accountable. Like, I could sit and learn it and practice it, but there was something about having that pressure and that outside authority saying, do it. So I sent the application form off, and I was terrified of getting a yes. And when the letter came, I absolutely panicked, and I opened it and I saw a yes. The terror.
The worst thing is getting what you want, and the worst thing is not getting what you want.
I know.
Yeah,
the terror was so strong. And so the first thing I did was I ordered the kit, some of the sound kit that I've been using today. So this was just under 2 years ago. And it came in this big box, and I sat with this box for 1 week on my desk, huge box, and I couldn't even open it because I thought, what is inside this box? It was kind of a metaphor. I was like, what is going to come out of me? And I did publish my process on Facebook Lives, and, you know, I look back and I do cringe, but I'm glad I did it because I know I influenced some other people into thinking they could do it too. And I learned a few skills, and the biggest one I learned was to get out of my own way and how to create the conditions that were favourable for this window of inspiration to open. And so that was the practice.
What are those conditions?
For me, I have to be in movement. I have to have no one else around me, and I have to be in physical movement. So it's either going for a walk, sometimes it's when I'm driving, sometimes I have to just stand and march myself on the spot in my room. But there's something about being in physical movement. My idea about that is that my monkey mind is occupied, the part of my mind that's keeping me out of danger, you know, this kind of run. If you see a snake jump out the tree, run, you know, looking out for dangers in the car, watching where I tread. That is the same part of my mind that tells me, don't dare sing that because it might be terrible and people might judge you harshly, you know.
Right.
So I get that piece out of the way. And sometimes it comes out of the blue, but sometimes having a good reason to sing, something to sing about. So I've had a few really lovely experiences of writing songs where I realised, wow, this songwriting is actually a massive support to my human experience, to my processes, to my relationships, never mind if I'm going to share them outside of me or not. I wrote one about my son who had a really difficult thing he was going through, and I couldn't get close to him. And so the song came about, and I wrote it and I sang it to him, and it was the thing that bonded us together in it. We didn't need to discuss anything more. The song just did it. It did its work. It was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
But the surprise for me when I undertook that project for a year was that most of my songs that I wrote that I enjoyed or that I felt were kind of share-worthy and musically nice, pleasing, if you like. Some of them were just experiments, but those ones were all around grief. They were all my unexpressed grief. So it was a really deeply profound process for me personally to uncover this grief that had been sat there like a shadow in my life I didn't recognise, and now I've made very good friends with.
So, like inner peace, which I shared last week, I am the deep peace I seek.
Yeah.
Is there a story that you're willing to share with us about
Sure.
writing that?
Sure. This was the moment, just remembering the moment itself just brings me so much joy. It was, I think because of the way my life has been, I've never really been on my own. I've always had a big family, lots of siblings, quite a lot of trauma in my family of origin, significant trauma. And then I had a child really young. I was 18 when I had my first son. And then 2 more children in my early 20s. I've always been a part of a busy team at work. You know, people are my kind of joy. I just love being with people. My own family is pretty big. I've got a blended family. I've got 5 children between me and my husband. So a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I realised I've never really experienced being on my own, ever. And I recognised that this was a great fear for me. And I had a little camping trip, just me, for 4 days. And I think it must have been the 4th day or getting towards the end of that trip. I was laying in my tent and I had this little red beetle bug that was just dancing around my tent, and I was admiring this bug that I'd never seen anything like it before. And I just had this overwhelming sense of peace within me, being on my own and feeling completely comfortable and happy and peaceful within me. And then that's when the first line, the lower part, I am the deep peace I seek, just flew out of me. I sang it to this little beetle.
That's absolutely wonderful. I don't usually think of beetles as being songwriting companions, but what a wonderful story.
I think the beetle just represented the abundance of nature and life that is all around us all the time. You know, it might not be that I'm not around people. I wasn't around people for those 4 days, but I'm never alone. Yeah.
Yeah. And in some ways, you're always alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
With COVID, it's been an intense couple of years.
Yeah, it sure has.
I'm wondering what you're hoping to carry forward that grew out of this time.
Gosh. Well, on a personal level, that experience showed me what was important to me, the things that were important to me. It really highlighted those things. So I'm grateful for that. And I think crossing personal and professional with my work, I feel more strongly than ever that doing this mission-driven work, which builds communities and supports people into their own sense of autonomy around health and well-being, that feels like the shift for me. I've known there's been a big tidal shift within concept of health coming anyway because of my involvement with the NHS and knowing their longer term plan, being part of acute hospital services and now part of community health services. I think building on the knowledge that we all are responsible to take care of ourselves and the people in our communities, and it feels wonderful to be in such purpose-driven work with Singing Mamas and to be sharing this experience of being a role model in your community and being a beacon and showing others how you can access health through singing and well-being through singing and the support that you get from your singing families. So that feels for me really exciting to be part of that shift, certainly here in the UK. But also the point in which the pandemic hit, I didn't know whether that would be game over for Singing Mamas because all of our in-person choirs had to close. So it was who knew? We had to put pause on it. But that birthed this online community songline we wrote. We thought, what are we going to do? Help! Let's go on Zoom and do some singing 3 times a week. And actually that was amazing for us because we became globally connected. And and yeah, that feels really amazing to be seeing the work of Singing Mamas be relevant to people in other parts of the world. And suddenly feels like quite a small world.
Yes. I had a similar experience with the podcast.
Yeah.
I started the podcast just as a way to keep singing and a way to build this library of songs, because
amazing.
These kinds of songs that you're talking about that people are writing now in these moments for what the needs that they have, and the songs are meeting these needs, their medicine for this moment. And I wanted to start documenting them for myself. So I had this resource. And I started doing it thinking, oh, I'll do it for myself and there'll be 2 other people who listen, my mom and actually my mom doesn't listen, one of my sisters. And anyway, I was thinking, it'll just be just a couple of people who listen.
Wow.
And now, I look and it's all over the world.
Amazing.
There are people listening in almost every country.
Yeah.
And it's just, and some weeks it terrifies me. If I look at that map, I'm just like, I can't do this. And then I remember, it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about these songs,
yeah.
about getting these songs out to people so they can sing them.
Yes. Oh, it's an incredible archive and amazing resource. It's absolutely going to be impacting culture. That's what excites me.
So, exactly. So do you ever get overwhelmed when you look at the size of Singing Mamas and the growth of Singing Mamas? Or is that just an excitement point for you?
Do you know, it's funny. I feel like I should be overwhelmed by it, but I'm not. It feels so grounded. And I think because of the way it's grown with grassroots, it really, as an organisation, it's built on such solid foundations of shared values, of connection, courage, creativity. I trust so much in the people that are directly involved, that are doing the work. I've shared with every leader essentially their initiation into this work, and I know that every single one of them gets it. And whatever expression of Singing Mamas that they put out in their communities, which is relevant to them and their communities, I know that essentially the core of it, the values, are so strong that it doesn't really feel like it's my responsibility. It's a shared collective happening that's, again, like I said before, it's a remembering. This is in our DNA. This is ancient. We've just found a way to show people that's appealing to people that they can get in on it. So in that sense, it doesn't feel like my responsibility. That's probably why it's not overwhelming. And there's also such brilliant people within our network that everyone that's part of the core team or on the directors or does any work for Singing Mamas, they've been through the Singing Mamas training. So they come with their skills, amazing skills. So we've grown an incredible culture. So my ops director told me this is a radical feminist movement. And I thought, so it is.
Yeah.
I'd never thought about it like that, and I thought I've always thought about it as a movement, but actually the aims we have, the problems that sit behind the mission of empowering women to create song sharing communities are actually really significant problems in the world. The 3 problems, if I may name them, one is gender inequality. Yes. So there's this huge movement of people supporting each other to create their own work in their local communities, sustainable income through this beautiful passion-driven work. The second problem is the rise of mental illness within for mothers. So that's absolutely, the statistics are telling us that. So this is something that's evidence-based to serve those women and to improve those mental health outcomes. And the third one is the absence of an oral singing tradition. So all the things that we've been talking about with the songs. So it's actually so simple. Those 3 problems exist, and what we're doing collectively as a movement is in some way helping to fix those problems. So I think because of the clarity of that, it just feels so strong, and it feels like the work and the movement and the organisation has its own life, that it's just unfolding, and I have the absolutely unique honour to kind of watch it all unfold and help shape it. Yeah.
And do they not say that empowering women is one of the fastest, most effective ways to lift people out of poverty?
Right. Wow. I haven't heard that directly, but I can believe that.
Yeah. It's beautiful work that you're doing. It's beautiful work, and I really appreciate hearing how you are holding the vision for the group. So, how do you take care of yourself besides singing?
Singing is definitely the number one. Very much supported by an amazing team, and my husband is one of the directors, and he is extremely wise and supportive. So I have a partnership there. My children are all quite big now. I've got one little one who's 5. She's full of joy, but the older ones are all 16 and above, and they're in a point of their life where I feel like they're bringing back into the family the nurturing that they've received. They're amazing. I live in the forest. I have beautiful dog walks, so I'm always attempting to make time in my day to have time walking outside. And I love dancing. I'm a dancer. So if I'm not singing, I'm dancing. I love dance music. I love all music, but electronic dance music, some people might be surprised to learn. I picked up a passion in lockdown for German melodic minimal techno. So there's a fun fact. But there's something in it.
Very cool.
I know anyone listening that gets it will be nodding their head now. There's something in it. There's something aligned with what's happening with dance music and the dance music scene, where people are getting together, coming together for music, within music, to move their bodies for a collective experience. And there's some echoes there for me within the singing circle.
Yeah. And losing their monkey mind.
That's
losing
it. Shaking it all loose. Yeah.
Yeah. What are the biggest questions that you're carrying right now?
Where do songs live? I keep asking everybody. Where do they live? I'm really fascinated by the work of the Royal College of Music, particularly Dave Camlin. These pinning down magic into data. These questions around sound waves and the way we're experiencing the things that, there's so much mystery, and I like the fact that people are exploring ways to measure these magical mystery experiences we experience as a circle of singers, and what's happening to us on a physical, metaphysical level. I don't have any answers, but I love pondering the mystery of where songs live.
So when you say where songs live, do you mean like how do we remember them, or what makes them stick, or what? Tell me more.
I think, there's all these universal laws about things like, this is why certain pop music is written with the same set of chords, and we know that if we move from that chord to that chord, you're going to get the heartbreak feeling and that kind of thing. But there's, why do some songs just make us all cry? I guess I just see them as so much more than we currently understand them to be. And sometimes, okay, so here's one little imagination. I have this, imagining the women standing around in a circle, and I'm quite keen that we all do maintain that circle, because little gaps kind of, even just to not be able to see the person 3 places to your right feels important. And so you can see sound waves made visible by flame or sand or water sometimes with these experiments where people are sort of making these incredible geometric patterns out of sound waves, sort of a cymbal or,
Oh, I haven't seen
Oh, you
those.
must. Okay, so there's little vibrations. You get something to vibrate, or you're basically making the sound waves visible. And so I have these imaginations sometimes when I'm really deep in a song with the circle of these what kind of shapes these waves are creating.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm looking
beautiful.
and I'm thinking, I wonder if we could see this. There's the different notes we're singing, the universal laws of where the sound waves have been measured, and then there's the way they're all interacting with each other, and the full
Yes.
shape and expression of those waves that we can measure. And then there's the uniqueness of each and every voice, which we know from
Yes.
just using our voices, that our voices change from the morning to the evening, from younger
Yes.
years to older years, with our mood, with, you know, it's our consciousness, really, our voice, isn't it? We're letting ourselves out into the room to be seen, to be heard and felt. And so we imagine each individual voice and the mystery of that woven in with these sound wave shapes that you could imagine being visible. And then you bring in, well, what was going on when that song was birthed into the world? What was carried in there?
Yeah.
So you throw that into
Yeah.
the mix, that all this becomes a great mystery. And where has all of that been all this time? When we create those shapes and sounds and waves, does it just vanish into air? Does it travel somewhere? You know, we have it in our memory, and, you know, neurologists might start talking to me about neurons and brains, and I don't really care to go there, but there's a whole world of mystery that sometimes my mind wanders to without any answers, but I enjoy the exploration and the imagination.
I love the idea of taking it out of just a sound world and into a multi-sensory world. What would this song be visually?
Yes.
You know, if and the experience that we're having and the time.
Yeah.
Because music is one of the few arts, singing is one of the few arts that happens over
Yes.
time. Right?
Yes.
So when you're in a circle with people, the sound changes. You're singing the same song over and over again, and the quality of the voices and the kind of sound that you create changes,
And
right?
the bouncing off of the
Grows,
walls. So you've got walls in there, or you've got no walls.
Yep.
And then does it extend beyond the walls? And then where does it go? You know, it's
And then sometimes when you're in a group, the group will sort of mutually decide to get really quiet.
yes. Yeah, I love that.
And then you have that
Yes.
moment of,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or to get really large and get really kind of wild and
Yeah.
crazy. And having all of that shift that seems to just come from the group.
Yes. But there's a whole relationship with the song itself. I don't know about you, but when it comes to timing or being the kind of conductor, if you like, I don't apart from maybe with a bit of movement in my body, I don't ever demonstrate a time. I don't ever count the song in. I invite the singers to feel the pulse and feel it as a movement in their body, and then the pulse will emerge, and in feeling for that pulse you might be singing 3 different parts, but the pulse will be the one pulse of feeling for it. And so it's like the heartbeat of the song. It's like it's alive.
Yeah. And sometimes I find for me that a song that I would usually sing at one speed when I'm singing it by myself, when I go into the group and I begin sharing the song, and they are in another...
So true.
The group is in another timing space. And if I fight to keep, this is how this song should go, then it's, you know, none of us have a very satisfying experience.
So true.
And if I sort of feel like, okay, here's where we are.
We'll go with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
Yeah,
go with that and see how that settles.
Same.
Yeah. Oh. Well, okay. Are you about ready for lightning? We've been talking for quite a while now.
We can
I don't
talk
want to
all
keep
day
you
about
past your
this.
time. I feel like, yeah, exactly.
I love your questions.
Are you ready for lightning round questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What's an album that was really important to you?
Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. Very formative.
What is your... Okay. I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything more about it?
I ought not to, because I could go on for ages. It's so brilliant.
Okay. And this is the lightning round after all. Okay. What is your favorite soup?
Pea and leek. It's so quick.
Ooh. What is a sound you feel strongly about?
Oh, gosh.
Wait a minute. I have to go back to the favorite soup
Okay.
question, because I need to ask, split pea or green pea? All right. Okay. Sorry. What is a sound you feel strongly about? And this doesn't have to be, a good quote-unquote
Yeah.
sound or a bad sound, just one that really elicits strong feeling for you.
I do love the sound of my sleeping children.
Yes. Yes.
Pretty special.
Yeah. Who is an artist you wish more people listened to?
Oh, I'm going to say Anthony and the Johnsons.
Okay. Will I be able to find them on the
Yes.
internet? Okay. Great. I'm looking forward to it. And actually, do you want to name one of the German dance groups so that we can put a link in if somebody's like, what does she mean?
Minimal German techno.
Yeah.
Oh, who would I go with? I'm going to say Victor Ruiz. Victor Ruiz,
Okay.
Ruiz. Wow. Or Sama Abdul Hadi, Palestinian female
Okay.
techno artist. Spectacular.
All right. If I can't find those, I'll be emailing you.
I will give you the links.
All right. And before we close, where can we find you and follow your projects?
Singingmamas.org. We have a presence on Instagram and on Facebook. We're beginning to get present on TikTok. But yeah, the main page is singingmamas.org. You'll find us there.
Great. A huge thank you to you, Kate, for coming on A Breath of Song. I've loved our conversation. And I have so many things I want to follow up. I think I need an appointment for tomorrow. Could we talk tomorrow?
Let's do it. I'm in.
Okay.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
It's been a great pleasure.
A huge thank you to you, our listeners. I'm so glad you're singing with us. Visit abreathofsong.com to see the show notes with all these links that we were just talking about, lyrics, Patty Piotrowski's glorious artwork. Sign up to get artwork and music in your mailbox every week. How beautiful is that? Be one of the generous people who put something in the gratitude jar that helps cover costs. Before Patty or I is paid, 25% is donated to the Jazz Foundation of America, which directly supports jazz, blues, and roots musicians in need. The skill and the artistry of these musicians has directly shaped most of the music that I share on this podcast in one way or another, yet historically they have been inadequately recognized and unfairly recompensed. This is a small step toward restoration that I try to take. Let's sing Ride the Storm again to help it sink in more deeply.
Okay.
Ride the storm, I'll ride the storm, ride the storm, ride the storm, ride the storm.
Kate, thank you so much for coming today. And thank you to our listeners and singers for joining Kate and me for A Breath of Song. I'm grateful that you're taking care of yourself and listening to your voice. I believe making a better world starts with tuning in to ourselves and each other, which is what we just did. So, yay us! If you're liking this podcast, please share with a friend, and next time we'll plant another song. Until then, be well. Beautiful.
Perfect. Love it.